Good evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for pro wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. This weekend will be WWE's Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and on Friday morning, me and Chaos will both be heading to London for the show. So that means that we're doing the prediction show today. Well, we're doing one half of the prediction show today, and then a few of the other guys will be doing their predictions on Friday's episode. But let me introduce the panel for today and those who are giving their predictions today. Firstly, the co-host of the show, Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
I'm doing well. I'm stoked to get my predictions in early, and then I'll probably have a chance to change my mind down the road
you
if I
will.
want to, because I'm going to be on both shows. So you never know. I might give you one set of predictions today and a totally different one next time. We'll see.
50-50 booking. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a cheat code, really, isn't it? But fair enough, Clark, fair enough. Great to have you back today. And also joining us, we have the guy who is going to Money in the Bank with me on Saturday, Chaos. How are you, Chaos?
Oh, baby, it is Money in the Bank weekend. I am stoked. Going to be there, not even just for Money in the Bank, also the night before, Friday Night SmackDown as well. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be stacked. No 50-50 booking with me. I'm going to give you straight from the hip exactly what are my predictions of complete direct, unfiltered, uncensored, all that good stuff. Yeah, let's get straight to it.
Absolutely. And let's get straight into the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. What better way to kick off the show? So the names in this one are Butch, Santos Escobar, LA Knight, Shinsuke Nakamura, Logan Paul, and Ricochet. And nothing would make me more happy than if when Butch entered, his Titantron said Pete Dunne instead of Butch, but I think that's wishful thinking, to be honest. But as for this one, I think there's only two guys in it who really have a chance of winning. And the first one is LA Knight. Yeah. But I don't think it's going to be him who wins, unfortunately. But the guy who I think will win is Logan Paul. And I'm going to tell you guys why later on in the show. But yeah, I am almost absolutely convinced Logan Paul is going to win Money in the Bank. And I gave this prediction almost 2 weeks ago now. But Clark, who do you reckon is going to win the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, and why?
I'm wearing a t-shirt from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and I'm going to go with Los Angeles Knight in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Almost no doubt in my mind. Yeah, it's no brainer. It's LA Knight. Have him carry the briefcase. Logan Paul can have his big spot with Ricochet. We can still have the match at SummerSlam with Seth. Maybe that's when we have our good friend LA Knight cash in and make it a triple threat, because I would love that. It was already set up with the megastar dig on Monday Night Raw 2 weeks ago. I love the idea of a three-way in that rivalry. You get three guys with big egos on the mic at the same time. I don't know that LA Knight can work his way into that storyline if it's Logan Paul that wins the briefcase. And for that reason, in my eyes, it's got to be LA Knight.
Wow, okay, fair enough. And we got a Soul in the comments. Shout out to Soul. And he's agreeing with you. He's calling LA Knight as well. And honestly, I think it's potentially they could go that route. I personally don't think they will. And the reason I don't think they will is because I don't think LA Knight is big enough of a draw to be, facing Seth Rollins at SummerSlam, at a stadium SummerSlam at this point in time. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Chaos, do you think I'm wrong? Are you also going with LA Knight?
I would 110% love to go for LA Knight. I think obviously there is some concern that it could very well be Logan Paul. They've kind of kept it pretty up in the air in terms of the booking. Really, I do think that Ricochet, Shinsuke, and Shinsuke and who's the other people?
The full lineup is Butch, Priest, Santos Escobar, LA Knight, Shinsuke Nakamura, Logan Paul, and Ricochet.
Butch, Escobar, all the other guys, they're all filler. They're all mid-card. They're meant to just fill up spots. But in terms of the booking, they've kind of given everyone wins and losses as well. Usually, from my recollection, anytime it's the person that wins it, they usually go on a crazy losing streak before the briefcase and during when they have the briefcase as well. But right now it could be really up in the air. I don't feel like it's going to be Escobar or and Nakamura, Ricochet or Butch. Um, but yeah, the two standouts is going to be LA Knight and uh Logan Paul. The reason I also think that it could be Logan Paul, I mean, he is the perfect platform to do marketing with the brief. You could easily do just complete customize it and then say Money in the Bank, and then it's just covered in Prime logos all over, and then just be taunting Seth Rollins with it. But yeah, they have to really do us right, and if they don't want to have a whole chorus of boos, the best option is LA Knight. He's done so well. He's gotten organically over, and I don't know what it is with WWE. If someone goes organically over and it's not part of their plans, they try and ruin them. But so far, they haven't done that with him. They've let him just ride the wave. This is the only way to solidify him. He'll be a great contender to face Seth Rollins as well. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with my guns and go for LA Knight. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's Logan Paul. I'll be pissed.
Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, I think both are, probably very possible. I mean, I do have a feeling, I'll get a bit more into this later on, but I do very much have a feeling that whoever does win the men's Money in the Bank match will cash in the same night, because they always like to have somebody do that. And I certainly don't think it's going to be the women's one this year, because they've done it like the last, I think, 6 years now. So I don't think it's going to be the women's one this year. I think they are going to mix it up a bit, and I do think it's going to be the men's division. I don't think we're going to see a Money in the Bank, run, unfortunately, or whatever. I think it's going to be very, very simply, whoever wins it will go ahead and cash it in the same night, or perhaps the night after, or a couple nights after on Raw. But the one question which I want to give to you guys, right, is we know obviously Butch is British, right? He's from England. But Sheamus, despite the fact, obviously, like I said, Butch is, to a degree big here because of, he's from here. But Sheamus is huge here. And yes, he's not from the UK, he's from Ireland. But he is still huge. Sheamus was the face of, he was doing the Sky Sports interviews when they were, on IT, when he was doing interviews with ITV, with the BBC, all of these, right? Sheamus was the guy for years doing these interviews. He was there with Paige. And then since Drew McIntyre returned, they kind of switched up a bit. But for years, it was Sheamus. So my question very simply is, why is it Butch in there instead of Sheamus? Do you think that perhaps WWE have something up their sleeves? I'll go to you first, Clark.
I don't think Sheamus fits the Money in the Bank match as well as Butch does. And I also think that they just have, I think it simply put, they went with who made sense in this match the most, and that would be Butch. Other than, to your point about Sheamus being, I guess, more famous, for lack of a better way to put it, Butch fits the match really well, being the bruiserweight, if you want to call him that. Still, he can fit that style. He can work with Santos. He's worked with a lot of the talent in this match before. I guess that would be the only reason I see it. If Butch was Pete Dunne, I don't even think there's a discussion. Pete Dunne fits this match, but he's Butch.
I mean, here's the thing, right? I'm not saying I believe this theory. Instead, in fact, I don't believe this theory. But what happens if Butch does come out as Pete Dunne in this match? And the reason that he's in it is because he's going to win it. What happens if he wins it as Pete Dunne? And then later on in the show, as Pete Dunne cashes in on Seth Rollins and wins the World Heavyweight Championship, moves over to Raw, gets away from the Brawling Brutes, and that's how they repackage him. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, but that would kind of, that would somewhat explain why, he's in this match instead of Sheamus. What do you think, Chaos?
Yeah, that's a bit of a reach. I mean, I do feel like they would do it. It would do them justice if they actually gave him at least the Pete Dunne thing. That will assure that he gets a very good pop. Not only is this a hometown guy, but you would get a more excited one because you see Pete Dunne come up and he's going to be called the Bruiserweight. Even though the Brawling Brutes have not really been doing anything of substantial recently, I do feel like they're going to keep them together. And Pete Dunne. He's not in a position to be challenging, and if he did, that'll be also like it'd be a good starting point to try and elevate him. But there's been no inkling, no indication of him possibly. I think out of all of them, he's the only one that hasn't really had a match besides qualifying, if I'm not mistaken. Everyone has had matches, especially Nakamura. He is getting put through the ringer. Him and Ricochet.
Yeah.
I
think you are right. Yeah. I mean, Logan Paul too, but he didn't even qualify. He just added himself right in there.
Pretty much, yeah.
He just said, "I'm in."
but yeah, I think it's just I do feel like they're going to give him the Pete Dunne thing just to get the pop. But that's all there is to it. I think he's just filler. I do think that obviously Sheamus, but he's made one of the most appearances in Money in the Bank, or one of the guys that's been made the most.
Yeah, that's why it's so surprising me about this because I very rarely do disagree with you, Clark. Right, but I mean, I'm going to be honest. I think Sheamus fits Money in the Bank perfectly. I think he's been one of the MVPs in it over the years. So I really do not understand why it's Butch in this match instead of Sheamus. And I'm a big Pete Dunne guy, right? I really am. But I just think there must be something to it almost, right? And I don't know what that is, but there must just be something they have up their sleeve. I don't know. It's a very, very weird one to me. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm going Logan Paul. You, Clark, and Chaos are going for LA Knight. Yeah, I'm going to have to wait and see. And I'm going to be honest, I'd be very happy if it's LA Knight, despite what I have said in the past. But now let's move on to somebody which a lot of people have said a lot of things about in the past. And that is Ronda Rousey, who will be teaming up with Shayna Baszler to defend the WWE Undisputed Women's Tag Team Championships against Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan on the show. And this was one which, it was announced for the show this week. It's a storyline which has been very, very rushed, but it's understandable. It makes sense because Raquel and Liv never lost the titles. They had to vacate them because of the Liv injury. But yeah, I honestly think, right, this could actually be a very decent match. I think this is a match a lot of people, are sleeping on slightly. I think Ronda and Shayna as a tag team have actually been quite solid. I think they've been given a lot of unnecessary hate at times, but I do think, unfortunately, it's going to be quite obvious. I do think Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler will retain very simply because I think Ronda Rousey will refuse to drop the title this early into her reign. I said before that I really wanted to, see Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan hold the Women's Tag Team Championships together for, quite some time, and then eventually have Raquel turn on Liv after about a year or so, and then, do the Rey Mysterio Batista-esque feud that I've been going on about for months. But I think due to that Liv injury, I think that ship has unfortunately sailed. But Chaos, who are you predicting in this one for the Undisputed Women's Tag Titles?
I'll just go direct with it. I do think that Ronda and so vain, Ben. Like it's not all about you.
I meant to mute myself and I accidentally put the camera on myself. But yeah,
I was collateral damage there.
I know, right? Oh my gosh, yeah. So yeah, I do feel like Ronda and Shayna is definitely going to retain. I think obviously Liv. I think she came back ahead of schedule. So because there was no indication that she was going to be back so soon. So I think that's why they kind of shoehorned this in there. But I think it's also for two things. I think do think that they are trying to rush the outcome or the fallout between Liv and Raquel. Obviously they planted the seeds with Raquel against Rhea. And I think the most important thing is what's going to happen at the end of this match. I think that's the most important part. But yeah, I feel like he just wanted to get this out of the way and then use this as a catalyst to for Raquel to turn. I don't think they're gonna wait a year. I think they're gonna really rush this. And I said it in the show as well yesterday that I think they're gonna pretty much plan to do Rhea versus Raquel at SummerSlam. I think that'll be the perfect place to do it. Even though it might not be a big match, but if the other matches are blockbuster, they can put this in here and it won't be damaged. It won't be damaged as much or looked over that much. So yeah, I think now is the right time for Raquel to actually get some title opportunities, singles opportunities, because when she first went over to the main roster, I think that was a bit too soon, especially with the beaming smiley face, baby face. I think when she goes heel, that would give her more edge and an excuse for Rhea to actually fear someone, because you could see that when they had a little face off on Raw, she was just like she's not sure about Raquel if she can take her on possibly. But I think with her being a heel and being a more dominant force, that will cause Rhea to really be like, okay, I gotta take it seriously now. And then she's already organically turning into a face anyway. Like, you don't really have to make her do a face
that's
turn.
true.
People are gonna be chanting for Rhea anyway. So yeah, I think that's what they're gonna build up to. But yeah, Ronda and Shayna to retain for sure.
So my question is, you're saying there then that Raquel will turn on Liv after the match. I mean, do you reckon in a month's time we can get from just under a month, we can get through that Liv feud and on to Rhea? Or do you think that perhaps, I mean, I would say they do a Liv injury angle and they have Liv be out for a little while and then return again after SummerSlam, but she's just been injured, so I don't know if they do that. I mean, how would you deal with that one?
Yeah, I feel like they could easily I don't think they value that as going to be like a lengthy feud. I think they're going to blow it off after a couple matches on SmackDown, especially if Vince is that creative. They're going to have one match and then another rematch later or something, and then probably ride her off for a few weeks, and then somehow get Rhea to, because they're both assigned to SmackDown. And I know the draft doesn't really mean anything.
No, they're both on Raw. They're both on Raw.
They are both on Raw. Okay, my bad. Okay, so there you go. That's how you know it's definitely going to happen. It's I think they're just going to just blow it off over a couple of weeks, because SummerSlam ain't going to be for a little while.
It's only in 4 weeks' time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they do only have 4 weeks, but
okay, fair. Yeah, they're going to blow it off in 2. They're going to blow it off.
Okay, wow. Okay, fair enough. But I mean, let me just double check actually the date of SummerSlam there. But I do believe it's I believe it's either right at the start of August or the end of July this year. The date is
5th of August.
August 5th. Yeah, so sorry. So they'll have 5 episodes of Raw. Maybe they'll spend 2 on Liv and then 3 on Rhea. Or, and this is what I'd prefer, they somehow do a triple threat with Rhea, Liv, and Raquel, just so then you're not rushing the Raquel and Liv feud.
But Liv doesn't deserve a women's title match.
She's a former champion.
She doesn't deserve it right now, bro.
Here's the question: What has Raquel done to deserve it that Liv hasn't done to deserve it?
Big and strong.
They faced faced each other backstage. That usually in WWE's logic, that pretty much initiates the face off. Like it's gonna face each other. So, like I said, they're planted this season already. That's how it's gonna happen. That's what I believe.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I mean, that's true. That is WWE logic, isn't it? They planted the seeds. So that's probably the case. But we got Marnie in the comments here, and they are saying, "What are the odds of Randy Orton returning?"
Ooh, I mean, I wish.
I hope so. I don't know.
Wait, read the one above it too. That's my buddy Ben Crabtree. Monster shout out. Square, yes. The answer is
no idea what that means.
Inside joke. Don't worry about it. Ben Crabtree. Monster shout out, Benny.
But
quick. My prediction: if he does return, I think it could very well be at Money in the Bank, costing Riddle the title.
Oh,
that's my prediction. That's why I'm going to make a bold one.
Perhaps I think that is very, very possible.
Or just return at the end afterwards when the match is done, and then okay.
I want to see Randy, if he does return almost like the opposite of the way they did Michaels and Triple H. Like, oh, we're gonna do RK Bro, and then just RKO Riddle through the mat. And bring the Viper back, and the old Viper. if he does return, that's what I want to see. As much as I loved RK Bro, it was fun. It was entertaining. It was cool to see Randy have fun in the ring like that too. You didn't often see him smile throughout his career. It was cool to see that side of him. I think I've seen enough of that. Not that I didn't love it, but we don't need the nostalgia run out of RK Bro. I want him to spike his face right through the center of the mat. Start that rivalry out of the gates.
Oh,
it's been long enough.
I love that. I absolutely would. Just go straight away, Randy Orton, Riddle, and just have Orton murder
You
Riddle.
can't trust a snake, right?
That's very true.
And he's a viper.
Very, very true. But I do think it's possible. I mean, Kurt Angle kind of ruined it for everybody by saying that he is pretty much healthy again. I don't know why. I don't know if Kurt Angle is trying to get a job at one of the dirt sheets. Perhaps so. Perhaps that's what it's come to now for Kurt. But we got DJ Hayden in the comments saying sweet Angels shirt about Clark's Angels shirt there after one of their players, I believe, performed very well last night.
Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani had a career day yesterday. That was awesome.
But now let's move on to somebody who, hopes he'll have a career day at Money in the Bank, as Dominic Mysterio is in a huge singles match against, Clark's favorite wrestler, Mr. Cody Rhodes. And this is kind of an obvious match. This might be the most obvious to predict on the card. I think it's clear as day that Cody's just going to win this one. And they'll do some type of match between Cody and Lesnar to finish off that feud at SummerSlam. I'm quite excited for this for one reason, right? And that reason is the heat Dominic Mysterio is going to get in London. He, of course, turned heel in the UK over in Cardiff at Clash of the Castle, and now he returns. He's been getting monster boos everywhere he goes. Cody missed Clash at the Castle, so UK fans haven't even had a chance to see Cody since he's returned yet. So the ovation he's going to get is going to be crazy. And that's going to be a lot of fun. And this altogether is just a match which I don't think is going to be some technical classic, but I think the crowd are going to be on fire for it. But yeah, I think it's obvious your favorite wrestler, Cody Rhodes, is going to win, Clark. But do you share the same opinion?
Yeah, this is like if after Brock Lesnar lost his UFC debut to Frank Mir via knee bar and then eventually won the title and defended it against Frank Mir, if they gave Frank Mir his follow-up opponent, Sean O'Malley. They just gave him a little guy and just a throwaway. And then on top of that, they handed him a metal weapon. I mean, come on, man. It's ridiculous. Of course, Cody goes over. I don't know if it's going to take 15 or 25 or 105 crossroads, but I'm sure we'll see more than one of them. And we'll get Ospreay's move with the cutter, and it'll be great. He's going to do all the hits, and he's going to do it with a cast on, and hopefully he gives his weight belt to a kid in the front row. It'll be nice.
What is your issue with Cody Rhodes? What is your issue with him? But to be fair, the multiple crossroads do annoy me as well. I will give you that, especially when it's just on an episode of Raw. But I do. It's just a filler feud, isn't it? It helps get some spotlight on Dominic. I don't have an issue with this at all. Dominic's so over right now. It's just a filler feud, and you've got to give Cody something to do while he's waiting for Lesnar to finish his holiday.
Dominic's I think so over, but at the same time, dude, he's not Brock Lesnar, right? Like
nobody's Brock Lesnar. Who
of
else
course
is on
not.
But
how about we have Bronson Reed work Cody, and at least that way it's something else he has to overcome. It's something physically that he has to overcome. Dominic. Like, there's not even a threat of like Ripley interfering like there are in other Dominic storylines thus far. It's filler. It's brutal. It's like giving Dominic a rub just because they're both multi-generational stars. That's what it feels like. If it wasn't coming off the heels of the Brock Lesnar two-piece that they've had so far, then I wouldn't have as big of a problem with it. If this was in February, okay, right? Along the way towards stuff, that's fine. But on following Brock, and if we're really building towards Cody back in the world title picture, we're talking about him being one of the top guys against Dominic Mysterio. This isn't like when Rollins wore Ray's gear and, put on a show at SummerSlam. Like, look, I can wrestle anybody. He wrestled Dominic when he was as green as all green at that time, right? This isn't the same thing now. Now it's Dom, the upper mid Carter, because his act is over against the guy that just overcame Brock twice. Nearly, I mean, right? He refused to tap. It's like, what kind of threat does Dominic even pose in the first place?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a fair criticism, but at the same time, I mean, this is sports entertainment. This has always been the case in WWE. This isn't anything new, and I mean, it's just something entertaining while they're waiting for the next thing. Now, yeah, maybe Bronson Reed would have made sense, but I think they're still trying to build him up, and I don't think Bronson Reed's not really in the position where he can take a loss yet either. I think they need to build him slightly. But the one final question, he's on SmackDown. The one final question I have for you, Clark, is of course we saw Pharaoh, Cody Rhodes' dog, return on Raw this week. And we've also seen Brandy Rhodes be very active on Twitter about Rhea Ripley. Do you think there's a possibility that, Rhea does try and get involved at Money in the Bank? And perhaps Brandy Rhodes makes her return to WWE as a one-off appearance?
I think that would be the only thing that could change my mind about this match. I actually would be very entertained by that. And to be clear, as critical as I am of Cody, if I saw him at an airport, I'd buy him a beer. Guaranteed. I really do actually like Cody Rhodes, but I just want him to be as good as he can be. Because I've seen what he can do when he's really good. And it just feels like he's been WWE'd in a way at times. And even at the end of his AEW run, it felt like he was WWEing himself. And when I say that, I don't mean just like the WWE as a whole. I'm a WWE fan. I watch every weekly show. So, right?
UAW,
I'm not trying to throw WWE under the bus at all. But like, it's almost like Cody Vince booked himself for 3 years. Is what it feels like.
Yeah.
At times.
No, I mean, listen, it's fair. It is fair. And I get a lot of what you say, right? Jokes aside, I do get a lot of what you say. But personally, I've enjoyed the storyline. But now let's move on to, I mean, there's not really been much of a storyline with this one. There's been a little bit of one, but it's just a match which I'm quite excited to see. And that one is Gunther versus Riddle. I just don't care too much about the story in this match, to be completely honest here. But I just think it's going to be a banger. Every Gunther match is a banger. And this is going to be the 4th Gunther match now I've seen in person. And all of them have been bangers. I firstly saw Gunther versus Tyler Bate back when he was Walter in NXT TakeOver Cardiff. I then saw Gunther versus Sheamus last year at Clash at the Castle. I then saw at Mania Gunther versus Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre. And of course, I'll be there in London for Gunther versus Riddle. I said the last match on the card might be obvious. Well, who knows? Maybe there's a chance Lesnar screws over Cody or something. This match certainly is obvious because I'm absolutely convinced Gunther is going to return. We mentioned a possible Randy return earlier. Maybe Randy does return after the match and takes out Riddle or costs Riddle. But I'm absolutely certain Gunther will be winning this match and retaining his championship. But Chaos, do you share the same opinion?
I don't know. No, I'm joking. Of course, yeah. Like he's gonna absolutely brutalize Riddle. I fear that they're gonna try and play off the potential that Riddle's gonna win, and then Gunther's gonna get a shady win thanks to Imperium. That's what, yeah. And this storyline this match came out of nowhere because out of the whole Imperium and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn thing, Riddle has pretty much been the third wheel, but somehow he's getting a singles match. I would have rather prefer Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens getting this match, even though we would know the outcome. But the match that had that Raw was mint. And Kevin Owens can pretty much go with anybody. So but yeah, we're getting Riddle. It's gonna be fine, I guess. But yeah, I feel like they're gonna give Riddle actually a fighting chance, and then there's gonna be some shady finish for Gunther to retain, even though he doesn't need the goobers to beat Riddle. But yeah, I feel like yeah, I don't know how we got onto it, but I said it earlier that it wouldn't surprise me at the end of this, Randy Orton would actually return. I don't think it's going to happen during the match. I think that's going to be mainly involving Imperium, but something
Yeah.
at the end has to happen, I'd say. And that'd be awesome for Money in the Bank to happen, especially on international waters. So
Yeah.
I agree, 110%. Gunther's good. They have to beat the Honky Tonk Man's record title reign. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta beat. Come on, get rid of Honky Tonk Man. Get him off the. Get him off. Yeah, go for the W.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite obvious. The other thing I will say is every time Riddle has come over to tour the UK, right, and this is before he signed with WWE as well, he has always put on bangers in the UK. So I really do think that this, dare I say, it might be a contender, a sleeper contender for match of the night. Because these two, I mean, they've worked really well in the ring together before. They put on a banger before, so it's nothing, it's not going to be a shock when they put on a good match. But I think they will, and who knows, maybe it will be match of the night contender. But now let's move on and let's talk about the women's side of Money in the Bank, as Io Sky, Trish Stratus, Zoe Stark, Bayley, Zelina Vega, and Becky Lynch will all be trying to, win the women's Money in the Bank briefcase. And this one is a little bit harder to predict than the men's for me, right? But this is what I think will happen. I think, everybody I think feels like it's either going to be Bayley or Io Sky. But I reckon what's going to happen is I think Bayley's going to win it. I do. And then I think over the next few months, we're going to get, Bayley being all full of herself and Io Sky getting a bit more and more and more frustrated, and Bayley just treating Io a little bit badly, and fans starting to feel, bad for Io. And I've already said, right, I think the men's Money in the Bank is going to be cashed in at Money in the Bank or the Raw after or the SmackDown. Well, it'll be the Raw after. It won't be on SmackDown. It won't be Roman Reigns for sure. But I think the men's Money in the Bank will be cashed in fast. And I also think successfully, because they need to build up something for Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. And for that reason, I believe that Bayley is going to win Money in the Bank, and then Io Sky is going to cost her when she cashes in the championship belt. Bayley's going to cash in not championship belt, the championship briefcase. She's going to cash it in for a championship belt, go in the ring, the bell rings, and then Io Sky does something that costs Bayley the briefcase. Means that, she cashes it in unsuccessfully, and then that can lead to, a bigger feud then between Io and Bayley in the mid card, and with Io then winning that feud, and then Io being propelled into the main event scene from here. I know a lot of people want Io to win it, and I would not complain about that, because I've said for years I was a massive Io Shirai fan, and I do feel like she'd make a great Miss Money in the Bank. But I don't think it'll happen, because I think, as especially as I presume they're going to push her as a babyface, the more natural route to, do that is to just build her up and do that storyline against Bayley, rather than, her basically winning via the cheat code and winning the briefcase itself. But Clark, I'll head to you first. Do you think that Bayley will win Money in the Bank, or do you think it'll be somebody else?
I've been saying Bayley for weeks now, and it's so funny. I changed my mind yesterday. And monster shout out to my dad. He recorded it for me, but Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins appeared on ESPN First Take. And if you haven't seen the clips yet, they were awesome on the show. They did the classic top 5 countdown. They did the top five heels in sports. It was hysterical. It was really well done. It was an awesome segment. But Becky, they asked her about the Money in the Bank match. She said it's the one thing on her resume that she really, really wants to add. She almost has a perfect resume, and the way she so passionately talked about the briefcase and winning it and what it means on ESPN, no less, right? ESPN's prime morning show, the Stephen A. Smith's show. It was outstanding, and it sold me. I think Becky Lynch is gonna win the briefcase.
Oh wow!
This time. I'm going to take Becky Lynch. I think Becky wins it, and we finally get the Ripley heel turn. And I think Becky does a classic John Cena type cash in. Or not John Cena. The way RVD cashed in on Cena. We're going to do this at SummerSlam. Plans in advance. Not a surprise cash in. a babyface cash in. I just want a match, and I know I can beat you. And we get full heel Ripley and full babyface Becky, the man, and we get an absolute war at SummerSlam. I think that'd be outstanding.
I 100% agree. It would be outstanding. The only issue I would have with it is, do you really think it's even possible to turn Rhea heel at this point because she's so
I
over
think
right
I think she should be a heel. She's
now?
a natural
She
heel. I think
officially
she's
is.
a more natural
Officially,
heel.
she is a heel, but
That's-
those fans love her so much that she's becoming a face.
What the easiest way to really, really, I don't want to say keep her a heel, but emphasize that she is a heel and show what kind of heel she can be is put her against a babyface that the fans undeniably will root for, like Becky Lynch.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like
I
because they
think
turned on Becky before.
they have.
feel like
I
it
think.
might
I think
happen
we
again.
get. I think we get the full man. I think we get the man, Becky Lynch. We get the hot crowd, the ultimate babyface. I don't think she gets turned on against Ripley, especially if the mic work is done properly, because I think Becky can make Ripley look like a heel on the mic in a way that other wrestlers can't quite.
Yeah. No, I do agree with that. You know, Rhea is very good on the mic, and to put it bluntly, there's not many in that Raw Women's division who are great on the mic, but Becky is certainly one of them. So, if they did it right, I don't think it'd necessarily be worst case scenario. I don't think it would be everybody turns on Becky. I think it'd be a split crowd. But that is what I would fear if they went in that direction. But I'd love to see it. The only issue that I would have with that is, they've been very much teasing, for SummerSlam, them doing the final match between Trish and Becky. So do you reckon Trish could be involved somewhere in there?
Oh, that'd be outstanding. Why not? Trish, Becky, and Ripley, sign me up.
And then they would have someone to boo for. They could boo for Trish. So if worst case scenario, they root for Becky and Rhea, that's fine because they're still rooting for Becky.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. You add that to the plan, and I love it. But it's funny, the first take appearance, it totally sold me. And honestly, it made me like Rollins even more. Rollins was awesome on the appearance too. If you haven't seen it, seriously, it's worth the watch. It's cool because to be on mainstream prime time in the morning, ESPN television for WWE on a Money in the Bank week, not WrestleMania week, right? Not SummerSlam, not necessarily. I believe Money in the Bank's Big Four. I thought that was a big deal. That was cool. It was a cool appearance for sure.
No, it really, really was. We got a comment here. And Ibrahim is asking, are you guys sure it'll be cashed in on the World Heavyweight Championship? As WWE said, it could be cashed in on the Mid-Card Championship or the NXT Championship.
Gosh,
well,
I
it
hope
certainly
so.
could be on any. But yeah, they'd be dumb to cash it in on anything other than the World or Universal Championship. And as Roman Reigns is on this unstoppable run, it'd be stupid to cash in on him too. But Chaos, who do you think will be winning the Women's Money in the Bank match?
Yeah, Becky Lynch ain't gonna win, bro. I don't think that she touched the brass ring on Monday Night Raw. WWE's logic is if you do it before the pay-per-view, you're not sniffing it, bro. So she had her chance. Sure, they had a little segment between Becky and Rhea earlier in the night, but I think that's as close. She really has her hands full with Trish. They're going to do something with Trish and Becky 110% with at SummerSlam. Trish, even though she's in this Money in the Bank match, she's not even hinted that she wants to become world champion. She's more focused on Becky more than anything, as well as Zoe Stark. So I think she's got her hands full with that. I think Becky is going to try and take her time to get rid of Zoe Stark. And then it's going to be one-on-one with Trish Stratus at SummerSlam, something along those lines. Maybe Zoe Stark gets banned from ringside or something, just for her to get that win back. Same thing with Bayley and Io Sky. I feel like Bayley is absolutely lucky to still be in this match because she was meant to be facing Shotzi on last week's SmackDown, and then obviously that got vinced, and then now she's still in it somehow. She could be a very good contender to actually, because she's still in it. They may have said, okay, maybe she could easily be the one to actually win the title, win the briefcase, and then have that continue and feud with her and Io Sky somehow. But my actual prediction, I would say, will be Selena Vega. I think everyone's writing her off, especially given the match that she had at Backlash, I feel like WWE has definitely that's moved her up the pecking order, so to speak. But I don't think she would win. I think because, like I said, I think I said it on yesterday on Raw, they were just in your face saying the women's Money in the Bank match has 100% success rate, and the men's one only has 75%. But they kept saying 100, 100, 100. I think now is the right time to get the first L on the women's briefcase. And it wouldn't really hurt Zillion. I don't think I don't think the people will be rolling their eyes on it. I think she's probably going to go and challenge Rhea one more time, and then it's just gonna go sideways. So I think I think she'd be the perfect person. Becky Lynch doesn't need the women's title anytime soon. She's had that long reign when she was a heel, and and all that kind of stuff. So she still needs to be able to take. She still needs to be away with that and just focus with Trish. But my pick would be Selena Vega. She'd be the surprise win, I'd say, if they wanted to do not an upset win, but just a surprise win. Selena Vega, 100%.
No, certainly. I mean, that would definitely be something which would surprise me, but it definitely is possible because, like I said, that is very unpredictable. The women's Money in the Bank match. But now let's move on to the World Heavyweight Championship, as Seth Rollins will be defending the championship against Finn Balor. And I always like to look ahead before I make my predictions, right? And of course, the next pay-per-view is SummerSlam, and it's a stadium SummerSlam. They still need to sell tickets for that show. So they need, a big match for Seth Rollins. And I don't think it's going to be a Balor rematch. No way do I think that's the case. Damian Priest is 100% off the cards now. So, I mean, unless Randy Orton returned or something, I think they're kind of out of challengers. And that is why I think Logan Paul is winning money in the Bank. I said it last week and I'll say it again now. Logan Paul is going to cash in on Seth Rollins after he retains against Finn Balor. Logan Paul will win the World Heavyweight Championship, and then they will do Logan Paul versus Seth Rollins at Money in the Bank, and Logan Paul will, not Money Bank, at SummerSlam. So they'll then do Seth Rollins, third time lucky. They'll then do a Logan Paul versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam, and then Logan Paul will lose the belt and Seth Rollins will win it back. So they'll basically give Logan a month-long reign with the championship to try and bring some attention to Monday Night Raw and SummerSlam. I actually think it's a good business move. I think it'll be entertaining. I won't really have an issue with it. It's not like people are saying, if Logan wins the World Championship, we'll have another part-time champion. No, my theory is that it'll just be a month-long reign. It'll just be literally for SummerSlam, and then Seth will win it back. Yes, it's kind of flip-flopping the title a little bit, and it's a new title, but then just have Rollins hold it for 6 months or whatever, and then it'll be completely fine. There won't even be an issue out of it, right? It would certainly bring more eyes to this championship and to SummerSlam. So I would not have an issue with it there. I don't really know what else they could do. But Chaos, I'll head to you first on this one. Who do you see winning between Seth Rollins and Finn Balor? And do you see a cash-in happening?
A cash-in is only possible if, depending on who actually wins it. But first off, I do feel like even though Balor's promo almost swayed me on Monday, because that was just absolutely I felt I wanted him to win, but I still feel like Seth is going to retain. If Logan wins Money in the Bank, then 100% it's going to be Logan against Seth. Yes, they need that, and they need that the entertainment match. They need that marquee match, and it's going to be sponsored by Cinnamon Toast Crunch or something like that. They need something like that, and they could easily pin
It'll be sponsored by Prime Hydration.
Oh god,
goodness.
Yeah,
I was hoping you'd still have the bottle on you, to be honest, Chaos. That would have made that joke a lot better. Yes, there we are. The Prime bottle.
It's still half full.
The red, white, and blue.
Look at you can hear it. It's still half full. I'm sipping that stuff. Sorry. Apologies. But what was I gonna say? If they wanted like a marquee match, that would be the best option. You're right. Seth doesn't really have that many options. I was trying to quickly look through the Raw roster, And yeah, they haven't really got much options unless they do Seth versus Omos again or something like that. Some kind of like some random behemoth match. But yeah, there's no one really out there that could really be up that level as, I guess, Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Unless they did a returning heel Drew McIntyre. Remember, he's on the Raw roster.
True, that would be true. And of course, him returning in the UK would be a massive pop as
Yeah.
well. Perhaps that's a good shout.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Maybe that's what they're holding him back for. But yeah, you're right. Other than that, there's limited options. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if somehow they get to Seth Rogen and Seth Rogen, Logan Paul, and Seth Rollins. Is it one apiece? No, it's not. Is it? They've only done one match, isn't it?
Yeah, they have only done one match, and Rollins
Okay.
won. So Logan getting revenge on him and cashing in the Money in the Bank and winning his championship would be the ultimate payback, resulting in then, the final match of the trilogy happening at SummerSlam. But I also do like the, Drew McIntyre returning theory you have. The only issue would be, he'd return to a massive pop in the UK. But then, I mean, who knows? Seth's also so over right now that by the time you get back to America, maybe Drew would come across as a heel. That's very possible, very easily. But yeah, there is a few different possibilities. But as well, if it's not Drew, then yeah, I think it has to be Logan, unless Goldberg returned and they ran.
Oh no! Don't put that in the ether.
That's the only other possibility they have, and I think that's unlikely as well. But
I think we're missing a key thing here. I think, look, Logan can win the Money in the Bank, and he doesn't have to cash it in night of, and neither
does, because there's always somebody who does.
No, they're gonna break that rule. Hopefully, I'm begging them to break that rule this time, because there's no reason to do this. And as a guy who lived through David Arquette holding the WCW World Championship and the big gold belt, I'm not saying Logan Paul isn't a more talented athlete and he hasn't proven himself bell to bell in a way that David Arquette did not. But if you put that title even for a month till SummerSlam on Logan Paul, the brand new world title that people criticize the design of at times, like the design at times, this is a new title. If you put that immediately on the prime guy, Mr. Let's go viral, jumpy dude. Oh, it only takes one shot. No, you can threaten it with the briefcase and whatnot, but no, that can be the main event at SummerSlam. Him and Rollins. That's fine. That can absolutely work. But please, I'm begging you, do not put the brand new world heavyweight title on the YouTuber. Do not do that, because you're alienating the older part of the audience. I understand if you're Gen Z or whatever you call it, that Logan Paul, you can wrap your head around that. At 31 years old, I can barely wrap my head around it. I get it, because I'm friends with, Ben and Kobe and guys that see Logan Paul in the light that as an actual megastar, as he claims to be, or whatever his gimmick is. No. You're alienating a large portion of your audience.
That's why I didn't want to say it, but I was also in the like, you could easily David Arquette it, even though
David Arquette, it's the same thing.
I feel like it's a different situation. I feel like it is a different situation, but we're gonna have to wait and see, right? I mean, it's just the fact that, to be honest with you, I wouldn't book that myself. But at the same time, I wouldn't book Raw having this thin of a main event scene as it does right now. Heading into SummerSlam. So the position they're in, they back themselves into a corner, and I actually think,
but
I say this is the best decision.
So deep that they have to put the title on Logan?
Yes, I think they're there.
Can't they
unless they did the heel Drew McIntyre thing.
Because I also think, though, that if they break the rule of somebody's got to cash in on the same show, right? And they let both people carry briefcases, at least the threat of him winning to the portion of your audience you'd alienate by putting the title on him, the threat's enough that story's still intriguing on that side. Like, please don't do it, right? And then to the portion of the audience that gets Logan Paul and consumes his content, right? You still have him on the chase. So it's the storyline lands better if he holds the briefcase as opposed to if he holds the title. Because if he holds the title, anybody born before 1995 is like, you're kidding.
I mean, I think people even born after that would still be like, you're kidding. But I think that's the point. He's, proper, genuine heel who everyone hates, and just for the sake of a month. No, I agree with you. I do agree with you there. But I wouldn't. They're just in a bad situation that I feel like that is the only answer. But Clark, very, very quickly before we move on, who are you then? Who are you predicting between Rollins and Balor?
Oh, Seth retains for sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
cool.
I think in a match primarily dominated by Balor.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I will completely agree with you on that. But obviously, we disagree on what will happen after the contest itself. But now let's move on to the Bloodline Civil War, where the Usos will be taking on Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. And I think what will be happening here is I feel like the Usos will lose, not cleanly, but will lose to Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns. And this will lead to Jimmy Uso versus Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. And then at SummerSlam, Jay will turn on Jimmy and cost him the Universal Championship. And Roman Reigns will retain. I think this loss will show show Jay that he's made the mistake, that he shouldn't have left the bloodline. Because, I just can't see this story continuing with the Usos completely gone out of the bloodline. Because I still think we've got quite some time to go in this Roman title run. Whether that's positive or negative, I feel like that's the reality of it. And I think it's going to struggle without at least one of the Usos involved. So, my prediction is that Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa will win here, and then next month at SummerSlam, Jimmy Uso will lose to Roman Reigns with help from Jey Uso. But Clark, I'll head to you first. What do you think is going to be happening in the Bloodline Civil War?
I love a lot of the things you said there, and you and I discussed the idea of Jay's promo on a show earlier this week, right? When Jay and Jimmy following the turn, Jay was very wishy-washy, right? About going out of his way to thank Roman Reigns, basically, in that. I don't think we get the full turn tonight. I agree with you that the full turn occurs at SummerSlam, but I think we get a nugget. Maybe he can't pull the trigger on an Uso splash on a prone Roman Reigns. Maybe there's an opportunity to do something and he holds back. I think we might just get nudged along just enough. And then I agree. I think it's going to be Samoan Spike, Spear, ball game on probably Jimmy. Or the only other scenario I could see is Jimmy is laid out on the outside and Jay takes kind of a cheap pin, maybe even a roll up, maybe even an Owen Hart finish. Type of a thing. Something that you wouldn't expect, right? A little bit like Bulldog and Bret Hart, even, right? The way it was just something that you wouldn't expect, and Jay gets pinned and Jimmy's out on the outside, and it was like, where were you?
Yeah.
Just to leave a little bit of that. Those are the two things that I can see happening. I don't know which of the two. I wish I had a more specific prediction. If you have to, whatever, I have to pick.
Yeah, right? You do have to pick. It's a prediction show.
I'm going to go with Reigns and Sikoa win. I believe that Jimmy takes the fall. Jay can't pull the trigger on something during the match. That's the one I'm going to go with. If I have to pick between those two that I laid out.
Very solid prediction there, Clark, and I think you might be bang on right. But what about you, Chaos? What do you think will happen in this Civil War?
This match could go either way, and I will be fine with either one. I mean, this thing has been so good. The prediction that Clark gave, I could definitely see that happening, and I would love to see that happen. I think something's gonna. There's still some confliction with Jay. You can definitely tell. As much as he's talking a big game and whatnot, he still wants to. No, also want if it's either he still wants unity in the bloodline, or he wants to prove that he can be the true main event. He can go out on his own, kind of thing. But the thing that's looming over is looming all over it is that they brought back that pay-per-view Payback.
Yeah.
That's what's throwing me off a bit. And they've already done the posters from it. Roman Reigns is exactly on the front and center of it, almost same pose that he did from the last time Payback was on. So it's definitely going to surround around the that bloodline story. This could go really either way. However, I do feel like Reigns and Sikoa do need a W. It's going to be very weird for them to have two tag losses in a row. Like, you know what I mean? And, you know, I don't feel like if Sikoa takes the fall, I think it's too soon for Reigns to feel like, okay, you're also the weak link. Sorry. So, like, I think they do need a W anyway. If Reigns and Sikoa win, you're right. I think Jimmy is the one that has to take the fall on there, and then somehow it's going to be Reigns and Jay. I think definitely that's what they're aiming for. Roman Reigns versus Jay for the title. But again, I think we spoke about it before. I still don't see Jay being the person to take down Roman either. So I think that's what I'm saying. I think ultimately it's going to be Reigns and Solo on the island of relevancy for a little while longer. But yeah, I do feel like as a tag team, Reigns needs to win with Solo just for Solo to prove his worth to Roman at least. You know what I mean? Obviously they could go do a complete shocker and then make Reigns take the pin because something major needs to happen with it's about time he's taking a pin. But yeah, I feel like it's gonna be Reigns and Sikoa for the win.
So the more I think about it, right, and I know a lot of people want Cody to be the guy to beat Roman, and that could be what they're doing. I don't know. I have no idea. But the more I think about it, the more I think it will be Jay, which is why I have this feeling that Jay's gonna end up thinking he's made a mistake and go back to Roman and screw over Jimmy when he has an opportunity at SummerSlam or something like that. That's why I have that feeling, because I feel like it's going to be about a year from now, or maybe just a bit under a year, when Roman does lose that championship. I still think we're still going to be in for quite a long journey with Roman as champion, but I just have that feeling that Jay will be the guy to do it. Because he's been a major part in all of this. He's been the right-hand man. He was, the first part of this story. I think it's only fitting that he's the last part of it well.
So sorry to cut you off. Would it to convince you even more, say if he won the Rumble, and then Reigns and Jay at Mania?
Perhaps. I mean, that's certainly.
I don't see a reason why we aren't going to give Jimmy a shot along the way, given how much availability there is story ways. I hope it's Jimmy in that spot. Yeah, not Jay. Jimmy had the torn ACL during the I Quit match.
Yeah. Right?
And I mean, realistically, I mentioned how wishy-washy he was on the follow-up promo. During the actual promo, Jay expressed blatant jealousy to Jimmy about
I know.
Prom King and most likely to succeed. Like, that was as obvious as it gets.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind Jimmy Roman, Jimmy Jay.
No, that's what I think will happen.
I don't mind Jimmy versus Jay for the first time. That could be fascinating.
No, I 100% agree with you, and I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, I think it's going to be, like I said, Jimmy versus Reigns at SummerSlam. Jay's going to screw over Jimmy. Then they're going to do Jimmy Jay at Payback or whatever. And then down the line, I mean, Chaos, you suggested perhaps WrestleMania. That's when, or maybe even a bit further along from there, you can then have Jay turn on Roman, aligning himself back with Jimmy and Sami Zayn and all of those guys, and they're all on Team Jay as Jay goes on to face Roman Reigns, and I believe that will be the final straw, and he will be the guy to take the title off Roman Reigns down the line. But guys, that basically brings us to the end of the show today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're over on YouTube, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe. If you're over on Spotify, a cheeky 5 stars and a follow would be very much appreciated. And we will be back. Well, me and Chaos won't be back. Me and Chaos are now off for the next few days. I will be back on Sunday. And For the next few days, Clark will be hosting the show as normal tomorrow, Throwback Thursday with Anthony, and that will be at 11 p.m. UK time, 6 p.m. Eastern, and 3 p.m. Pacific. Then normal times for Friday, Saturday, and I will be back on Sunday. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoy your weekend, and hopefully Money in the Bank is a great show. See you guys.
I still hate Prime.